For a while, viewers started noticing something strange. The uploads weren't landing the way they used to, the buzz felt quieter, and questions began stacking up across comment sections. What really happened to Sonne Farms? Did they step away from YouTube? Did something go wrong behind the scenes? Or was the internet once again turning normal life into a full-blown mystery? At first glance, it looked like a classic disappearance story, the kind that fuels rumors overnight. Some people even claim the channel had changed forever. But when you dig a little deeper, the truth becomes far more complicated, and honestly, far more surprising. Because Sonne Farms didn't just build an audience, they built trust by showing the raw, unfiltered reality of farm life. And that kind of transparency comes with pressure most viewers never see. So before you believe the speculation, you need to understand what was really happening when the cameras weren't rolling, and why the story is nothing like people expected. Before anything actually changed, the rumors showed up first. It started quietly. A few viewers asking why the uploads felt less frequent, why the energy seemed different, why certain moments weren't being shared anymore. Then the algorithm did what it always does. When a channel that people watch weekly slows down even slightly, it doesn't register as life got busy. To the internet, silence automatically means something is wrong. Suddenly, comment sections filled with theories. Some people wondered if the farm was struggling. Others guessed there was drama happening off camera. A few even jumped straight to saying the channel was falling apart. And the strange part? None of it came from Sonne Farms themselves. The speculation was almost entirely created by viewers connecting dots that were never confirmed. But here's what most people don't realize. The fictional consistency on a working farm is nearly impossible. Unlike studio creators who can batch content, farming runs on weather, livestock, equipment failures, and timing you can't control. One unexpected storm, one broken machine, or one extra long week during planting or harvest can erase any filming plans instantly. Still, once audiences get used to a rhythm, even a small disruption feels massive, and that's how the disappearance narrative quietly took shape. Not because Sonne Farms vanished, but because expectations grew faster than reality could keep up. But while viewers were busy guessing from the outside, something else was happening behind the scenes, something far more demanding than uploading on schedule. To understand why the rumors never really matched reality, you first have to understand what Sonne Farms actually is, and more importantly, what it isn't. This was never a content house built just to chase views. Sonne Farms is a real working family operation rooted in South Dakota, where days don't start when the camera turns on. They start when the work demands it. Long before thousands of people were watching, the Sonne family was raising cattle, managing crops, and dealing with the kind of unpredictability that only farming can throw at you. And unlike many polished creators, their growth came from showing things exactly as they were. Early mornings, breakdowns, muddy boots, stressful seasons, and wins that only farmers truly understand. That authenticity became their signature. Viewers weren't just watching tractors move or cattle being sorted. They felt like they were stepping into a lifestyle most people never get to see. No filters, no scripted drama, just the raw pace of agricultural life. But here's where things quietly shifted. When you build a reputation on being real, the audience starts expecting full access. Every challenge, every change, every major decision. What began as sharing daily life slowly transformed into an unspoken pressure to document everything. And the bigger the channel grew, the heavier that expectation became. Because farming doesn't pause for storytelling. There are weeks where survival takes priority over filming, moments where pulling out a camera is the last thing on your mind. Yet from the viewer's side, absence creates questions. And those questions were about to collide with the reality most subscribers had never stopped to consider. Here's something most viewers never fully grasp. Filming farm life sounds simple, until you try living it. On the surface, it probably looks like Cole just sets up a camera, captures the day, and uploads. But the reality is far more intense. Farming already demands physical endurance, fast decision-making, and long hours that don't care about weekends or holidays. Now add the pressure of documenting it all for thousands, sometimes millions of people. You're no longer just a farmer. You're a cameraman, an editor, a storyteller, a business owner, and somehow you still have cattle depending on you before sunrise. At first, that balance can feel exciting. Sharing the lifestyle, building a community, watching the channel grow, but it creates momentum. But momentum has a hidden cost, because the bigger the audience gets, the less room there is for an off day. Miss an upload? People notice immediately. Post something shorter than usual? Viewers start asking questions, film less for a few weeks? Suddenly the speculation machine turns back on. What many don't see is that content creation doesn't end when the chores are done. After a full day of physical labor, there are still hours of footage to review, cuts to make, audio to fix, thumbnails to design. It's basically a second full-time job stacked on top of one of the toughest careers out there. And eventually, that kind of pace forces a decision. Something has to give: the schedule, the workload, or the person carrying it all. But the real pressure wasn't just coming from the workload, it was coming from the growing spotlight and the controversies that tend to follow anyone bold enough to show the unfiltered truth. Growth on the internet always brings attention, but it also brings scrutiny. And for a channel built on showing the raw side of agriculture, controversy wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. One moment in particular sparked intense debate. Routine cattle practices that farmers have used for generations suddenly became a battleground in the comments section. Viewers who understood ranch life saw necessary animal management. Others, often unfamiliar with farming realities, saw something completely different. And just like that, the channel wasn't only about farm life anymore. In Holland, it became part of a much larger culture clash. Rural versus urban, experience versus assumption, education versus emotion. The comment sections grew louder. Arguments stretched for days. Strangers debated ethics without ever stepping foot on a working farm. Some viewers demanded more explanations, while others defended the transparency that made the channel successful in the first place. Here's the thing about internet controversy. It doesn't fade quickly. Once a channel gets labeled as debated, every new upload is watched more critically. People stop just enjoying the content and start analyzing it. For creators, that shift is exhausting, because when your real life becomes a public discussion, even ordinary decisions can feel like they're under a microscope. Every angle gets questioned, every action gets interpreted. Yet what many viewers didn't realize was that while these debates were happening online, the real challenges weren't unfolding in a comment section. They were happening out in the fields, around heavy machinery, and beside animals that weigh over 1,000 pounds, where one unpredictable moment can change everything. What people often forget about farming is how quickly a normal day can flip into a dangerous one. There are no stunt doubles out here, no controlled sets, just massive equipment, unpredictable animals, shifting weather, and split-second decisions that have to be made correctly every single time. Even the most experienced farmers know one truth: the job only feels routine right up until it isn't. And when your life is being filmed, those moments don't stay private. Over time, viewers watch Sonne Farms navigate the physical realities of the work. Close calls, painful injuries, and the kind of setbacks that force everything to slow down whether you like it or not. Suddenly, the focus isn't on uploading or entertaining. It's on recovery, regrouping, and making sure everyone is still able to step back into the day safely. Because toughness isn't about pretending nothing happened. It's about knowing when pushing forward could make things worse. What most viewers never see is the mental weight that follows moments like these. After an injury or serious scare, the farm still needs to run. Animals still need care. Crops don't wait. But the confidence that once made the job feel automatic can take time to rebuild. And naturally, when the pace shifts, the audience notices. Uploads may spread further apart. Videos might feel different. Energy changes. Not from lack of passion, but from a sharper awareness of what's at stake. From the outside, it can look like the channel is slowing down, but in reality, priorities are being rewritten in real time. And just when viewers thought they understood what was causing the change, another question quietly started circulating. One that always follows growing channels. Was success itself beginning to reshape Sonne Farms? Once a channel reaches a certain level, the conversation almost always shifts in the same direction: money. It starts with harmless curiosity. Viewers wonder how much a farming channel can really make. Then curiosity turns into guessing. Guessing turns into rumors. And before long, people begin speaking like they have access to numbers they've never actually seen. For Sonne Farms, growth naturally opened new doors. There were brand opportunities, merchandise, and expanded business visibility, the kind of evolution that happens when a once local operation suddenly has a massive digital audience. To many creators, this is simply smart business. Diversifying income creates stability, especially in an industry as unpredictable as agriculture. But on the internet, success can sometimes trigger suspicion instead of support. A portion of viewers began asking the familiar question: are they still the same, or has the channel become too commercial? Some worried the authenticity they loved might get diluted. Others assumed that if money was involved, the motivations must have changed too. Here's what often gets overlooked. Farming has always been a business. Long before cameras showed up, profitability meant survival. Equipment isn't cheap. Feed isn't cheap. Land certainly isn't cheap. Finding additional revenue streams isn't a betrayal of roots. It's often what protects them. Still, perception moves faster than truth online. When audiences sense change, even positive change, narratives form quickly. And once those narratives gain traction, they can reshape how every video is interpreted. Yet, while viewers debated whether growth was changing the farm, a much quieter transformation was happening away from the spotlight, one that had nothing to do with algorithms or income, and everything to do with life itself. While viewers were busy analyzing uploads and debating the future of the channel, the biggest shift at Sonne Farms wasn't happening on YouTube at all. It was happening in real life, because behind every consistent creator is still a human being whose world keeps moving forward, whether the camera captures it or not. As the years passed, life naturally grew fuller. Personal milestones, deeper responsibilities, and long-term plans began demanding more time and attention. And unlike editing, filming, or posting, these aren't things you can reschedule. When your days already begin before sunrise, adding major life changes into the mix forces a quiet recalibration. Time becomes more valuable. Energy becomes something you guard carefully. The question slowly stops being, what should we film next? And starts becoming, where is our time best spent? Most viewers never notice this transition while it's happening. They just sense that something feels different. Maybe the uploads aren't quite as frequent. Maybe the pace feels more intentional. Maybe the channel shows a little less chaos and a little more structure. But that isn't what a downfall looks like. It's what evolution looks like. Because success doesn't just expand a business, it expands a life. Priorities mature. Decisions become more strategic. And sometimes stepping back slightly is exactly what allows something to last instead of burn out. From the outside, people kept asking if Sonne Farms was changing. The reality? It already had. Not from scandal, not from failure, but from growth. The kind that happens when a family realizes sustainability matters just as much as momentum. And once you see that shift clearly, the mystery surrounding Sonne Farms starts to disappear, leaving behind a far more interesting question. What does the future look like when a farm learns how to balance tradition with a global audience? So, what really happened to Sonne Farms? Despite the rumors, the theories, and the waves of online speculation, the truth is far less dramatic than people expected. They didn't disappear overnight, and there was no single moment that flipped everything upside down. Instead, what viewers were witnessing was something much more natural. A farm, a family, and a growing brand learning how to adapt under an increasingly bright spotlight. Because when real life is your content, change isn't a warning sign, it's inevitable. The pressure of filming, the weight of controversy, the risks of the job, and the reality of building a future all quietly reshape how things operate. From the outside, that evolution can look mysterious. But from the inside, it's often the only way forward. And maybe that's the bigger takeaway here. Not every shift signals an ending. Sometimes it signals maturity. The real question now isn't what happened. It's what comes next. And whatever that answer is, one thing feels certain. Sonne Farms isn't fading, it's transforming.